all right. We are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Vostalk, and you are on a Vostalk show live. I would like to introduce you, my guest, our very own Esti, Mommyrn88. Almost everyone knows her.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, without going into more detail, why we are here because we are here, and we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about what everyone is talking about right now.
Yeah.
What's going on in the community, the word on the street, the word on anywhere and everywhere. But before we go into detail, well, most of the people know me because of the Vostok show. But let's introduce Esti. Esti, how did you get here?
So, hi everyone, and again, Michael, thank you for having me. We've spoken sometime,
Yeah,
me and you.
yes, we have.
Our paths have crossed, but it's the first time we're actually seeing eye to eye.
Can
And
you imagine? This is our first time seeing each other.
yeah,
So
so
and it's public.
you're more, you're nice and more petite than I expected.
Camera adds at least 40 pounds.
No, but
Right.
it's great to finally meet you in person. First, it was COVID. That was like I think we
Yeah.
spoke during the pandemic, but it's nice to formally meet you. I'm a big admirer of your show.
Oh, clockwise.
You're probably one of our first Baharians to even start a massive platform. So we
Probably, but
look to your
no.
page for some guidance. No, I think you're one of the big ones for our community, like a big one that's driven
Thank
for
you.
our community. So it's definitely nice to be here. How I started on my own platform was during
Yeah.
the pandemic as well, just out of sheer boredom. And I made a
Sheer
video.
boredom.
One thing led to another, and here we are.
And boom, we exploded. Exploded with millions of views.
Millions of views so far.
Millions. Ooh, I tell you. The first time I saw you playing Kamala on TikTok, I had to second guess. I swear. I honestly thought you were her.
Like by voice, right?
By
Only.
voice, not only by voice, but like
The mannerisms.
the mannerisms, the makeup, the everything. I'm like, hold on, is this her? I had to ask my wife. I'm like, is this real? Is this or it's not? She's like, no, that's Esther. I'm like, wow.
Thank you.
I became an instant follower. But now that we know how you started on TikTok, what made you go into this, into helping people?
So I wanted to. This has been bothering me for some time. I think it's been bothered all of us in some degree for some time. Anyone I've spoken to about this has given sort of the same exasperated reaction of, oh my God, another one. Why does this keep happening? This is, I knew this guy, or this one was my neighbor. My sister grew up with this one. It's always someone we know. One thing that bothered me was how desensitized we have become about a lot of things, but especially about this topic. So I remember years ago, if somebody would OD, it was not only, it's not about being the talk of the town. It was not something that was so easily forgotten, not someone that was so easily forgotten. When I saw that this is becoming more of a crisis in our own community and less people talking about it constantly, I really wanted to bring some kind of awareness to it, only because I said, hey, I have this platform. Let me use it for something other than entertainment. Let people understand, let them be educated. What is it that we can do? I started by helping out Yuhan. I know he's been very passionate about this for like 16, 17 years. I've
Yeah.
seen your conversations with him on the topic. He has his own radio show. Very commendable work he's done. However, it cannot just stop at Yuhan. It cannot start and stop with him. He's one man. He's also not, a licensed social worker, for example, and he's been trying very hard to get a facility up and running for this exact reason, and he's still trying very hard. But we need to address some of the more important things, and that's why me and you are here, right? There's so
Well, yeah.
many things that are affecting this.
We're going to talk about whatever we're going to talk about, but we're just talking about the same thing we've been talking about. I mean, the problem that we have with people ODing and using drugs, it's been for centuries.
Yeah.
This is not new. What makes this? What makes us so different right now? A lot of people probably watching us and being very skeptical, saying, "Oh, look at them,
Yeah.
under the bullshit."
I'll tell you how this one is different. First of all, let me break it down to you in a few categories. And a part of why I came on here is to provide some education, because some of the questions that I've had for people that follow me, people that are just looking at your lives on this, or they're just reading whatever they're reading about people posting about specific drug dealers or whatever it is. They know very minimal about the full story. So the reason why this is so different today is because fentanyl is on our streets, and fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, okay?
Right.
It is a man-made heroin, if you will, type kind of
Yeah.
drug. Its potency is about 100 times more than morphine, and morphine is hospital grade. So if you can imagine the heroin that's on the streets, it's even more powerful than the heroin on the streets. Now, why is this such a big problem for our community? Well, there's a huge influx of fentanyl now, and it goes it's a chain reaction, and I'm very happy we're doing this on Monday night when election is tomorrow. Okay, we've had massive bail reform in the state of New York. A lot of these crimes and offenders that are selling these drugs are popped right back out on the street.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we also have an open border crisis, right? So what is the number one thing that's coming through is these drugs, these cartels, and they bring over this synthetic heroin. Now, what are drug dealers doing? Drug dealers are selling them because it's very cheap to make.
Absolutely.
And there's a huge profit margin.
It's economics.
And it also makes people incredibly high. So it's something that's very, very strong for about a third of the price of something that's not as strong. So we obviously have a big problem. This is going to be a huge, huge pot. And all we have is this, when you have all these little factors, you're basically, it's going to develop a bomb. And unfortunately, this bomb has landed right in our community. Now, the reason why I want this broken down, I want people to understand how grave this is. There are different types of drug users, okay?
Yeah.
There is the very, very addicted drug user. We will call him the professional. Fentanyl is professional level grade, okay? This is something that you need a severely high tolerance for in order to not die. Anyone below professional grade heroin abuser, I'm talking about chronic, someone that's been on it for years and years and years at a very high dose at long periods of time.
They could take
They are the only ones that can probably handle it without dying, and that's a big maybe. If they take too much, they can die. There's only so much the human body can handle. There's that kind of drug user. Then there is someone that's in the throes of addiction. They go to their usual dealer, they get a few pills, whatever it is that they usually do, because they can no longer be without. So for them, it is now no longer a choice. They cannot go to their doctor, even if there are people that go to their doctor for a prescription medication. Once they run out and they cannot get their refill, that's when they hit the streets. This is something that people are not understanding. This is why we're here, to educate them. Then there's the other two users. These are the categories of the people that are getting affected mostly today. One of those categories is somebody that's just dabbling, recreational use. They are using drugs sometimes to party. They know they're going to a wedding. They don't have an addictive personality per se. They'll listen to people saying, don't do drugs, don't ever try it, this is bad. They're the people that say, okay, but I know myself, I'm not going to get addicted. Let's say I've been using it recreationally 15, 20 years. I'm already at that age where I'm not going to get hooked on it. But what if you get a laced bag? Let's say you do go and want to party and you're going on vacation, for example, and you want to get a little, a couple of pills, Molly, you're going to go chill with your wife. And I'm speaking very candidly on this. I know for a fact people are listening. They recreationally use drugs. There's no shame in it. But they get it from somebody on the street.
They get it from somebody they know.
Well, they get it from somebody they know. That's somebody they know. We don't know their distributors, and
Of course not.
it's very important to understand that this is basically Russian roulette. That's what people are doing right now. So if you are one of those people that is recreationally using, this applies to you just as much as it applies to the professional heroin grade user.
Absolutely.
Okay? So our message here, or at least my purpose to come here, was very simple. Because of all of the people that are, excuse my language for this, dropping like literal flies all around us on a weekly basis now. Me and you spoke very candidly about this, even on Facebook, how we have to give time at this point to grieve to the family. And that still rings true. Yeah. But when it's happening this often, this frequently, and this young, these ages, there's no turning back from this. Some of these overdoses are accidental, meaning they had no intention of. Most of them are accidental. I'm saying they weren't, a lot of these overdoses are not. Some of them are people that were struggling for a long time.
Yeah.
But then there's some of them that were clean for a very long time.
Absolutely.
That slipped up, unfortunately. 20 years ago, people slip up. They're called a relapse. They can even go on binges for a couple of months.
Yeah.
They get back on their feet eventually. I've spoken to hundreds of addicts with testimony. They've had relapses 20, 30 times. Those were 20, 30 chances that they've had, that they were given to get on their feet. And it does happen. You know what's happening today? They get clean once, twice. They'll relapse, make a couple of mistakes. These are children. They're just now finally learning what recovery is. They go to that dealer. They're like, I've been clean for a month. I'm just going to do it this one time. And that's it. I'm never going to do it again. I miss it, or I'm stressed out, or I have college, or my parents are pissing me off to get married. There are so many reasons why they'll turn to go and get numb. That'll be the last time. They don't know that it's the last time. They
Of course not.
actually convince themselves that this is just one time like any other. I'm not going to get
Absolutely.
hooked again. So these are these 4 categories
I'm
of
not
drug
gonna
users.
die. It's
Yeah.
they will.
It's a
not me.
complex. It's the human condition. Unfortunately,
course.
we all think it's not going to be us. It's
Of
never going to
course.
be my child. It's never going to be
Absolutely.
me. That's never going to be me in that casket. Unfortunately, those people that said that, if they all ended up in that casket, there is no waking up and say, hey, I was wrong. It's just their family now getting passed over that grief. And, I spoke to some of these families. I've seen some of them from afar. It's not something you recover from, ever. It will leave you permanently broken.
It changes your
It changes your
brain,
psyche. It changes
your
everything. The siblings of these
structure.
people. Yeah.
everything in it just changes. But you know what they say on the street, right?
What?
They say, like, drug addicts. A lot of people think that don't use drugs. They say, "Oh my God, now they will understand that this is dangerous and they're not going to do it again." Well, what they say on the street is just a bad batch.
Yep.
It was just a bad batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few flies will drop, but we'll continue. And that's exactly what happens. People just continue. They're using it. Listen, they've been using heroin since what? Since mankind discovered opioids,
Yeah.
opium. So back in, I remember this is back in Tashkent, where I'm from. The house we sold, um, we sold our house to our locals, and I remember them growing. What do you call those flowers? Mak. Not opium. The flower itself. That's where the opium comes from.
Poppy.
Poppy, right? So you see those green poppies, and what I remember is that the guy who owned the house, he would come, he would he would take a razor and just make a small incision on every flower for the juice to come out. I never knew why he did it, but as years went on, when YouTube came about, I actually saw a show on how opium was made, and opium, like heroin, was made
By
just like that.
extracting. Yeah.
You extract this juice from a flower, and you purify it. You make it into a powder, and then they use it.
Yeah.
So that this is the first time.
Well, this is what big pharmaceutical industries have also gone ahead and monetized, right? They came
Right.
out and created OxyContin, and I want to say in the 80s, said that it's
Right.
absolutely not addictive, when in fact it is the most addictive substance.
Absolutely.
They said it's not addictive for children. They've
Of
gone through
course.
hundreds and millions of dollars worth of lawsuits. There
But
are
what are they
people,
going to do? They're just going to pay you off.
but they've. My point is, they've started this problem. We are now,
Absolutely.
dealing with it. I forgot to mention the one more person that can be addicted to drugs is somebody that gets it from a prescription, right?
Oh yeah.
This is one of the biggest culprits of why, and a lot of people will say in our community, especially, like, no, he's not like he started from this. That's one of the most dangerous things to start from, because when you no longer can get it, that's when you start turning to harder stuff that's on the street, because your
Absolutely.
body physically cannot be without. So the main question that I get on my platform, and I'm sure you've gotten this question, is why is this happening to our people? What's going on? What do they not have enough
How are
of?
we different from others?
That
Yeah.
this is exactly the problem.
How
That
we're the
our
same
people think that
people.
we're entitled. We think that we're better. No, we were raised better. We have different values.
Absolutely.
We were raised completely different. We were raised to respect our parents. We
Yeah.
understand the harm
Of course.
that this can do. Why is it still happening?
Because it happened and it will happen.
Yeah.
Because we all think the same way.
But it didn't happen to our
didn't-
parents' generation.
exactly.
How come it's happening to their
Well,
children?
It did happen to our parents. We just didn't know about it. We just didn't know about it. And when you speak to people, when I say people, I'm talking about older people over 70
Boomers.
and 80,
Yeah.
right? And I was fortunate enough to speak to a lot of them, and that the детский садик in the садик on 63rd. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Центр долголетия.
Yeah.
That's the one. There's a
They-
lot of
they hang
people.
out over there, yeah.
Absolutely. I spoke to so many people there, and they say that this problem's been from ages and ages ago. It's opium. Back then, people used to smoke it.
Well, that's like smoking crack.
pure opium.
How were people not overdosing from it?
So crack wasn't, crack is just a byproduct, right? It's whatever left. It's crap. But they used to smoke pure opium. Later, I found out my great grandmother used to smoke pure opium,
I'm so sorry.
right? So I used to go to my grandfather's house.
She used to chill. Okay.
So she was like 4 feet tall. She
Oh,
died
she was taller than you?
right by a hair. So I hate this girl. So so she died when she was 101. You see what I'm saying?
Is that what you're saying to our
And
viewers?
every time I was always asking my pops, I'm like, Dad, every time we go to see grandpa, Babulia sits there and she smokes
Smoking her pipe.
chili.
Yeah.
Exactly. She smoked her pipe and she's always happy.
That's crazy.
That guy she smoked her stuff. I'm like, what is it?
Why was it so socially acceptable?
Um,
Is it the same thing though as smoking? Like,
no, absolutely not. It was opium. Back then they had opium houses. Opium by itself, it's
I feel like it was pain relief used in
was a pain
America,
relief.
like in the 20s, in the
No,
30s.
no.
Doctors would just give opium, like they would just give it.
Opium came from China,
Okay,
right?
not
to the
no,
United States.
no, Afghanistan too.
No. Opium in United States came from China. The
Okay.
Chinese brought it here
Okay,
to United States when Chinese were brought to United States to build railroads. So the Chinese came with its own herbs. So when you spend 10 hours, 12 hours, 15, 16 hours building that railroad, you need to relax.
yeah,
What relaxes you?
opium.
Opium. Now, you take our brothers and sisters. How many lawyers versus how many barbers do you know that OD? Why is that? Right?
Because they have a hard job.
Okay, it's not a hard job. I mean, it is a hard job, but being a barber is very physical.
That's what I meant. Like physically more
Right.
challenging. Yeah.
So, especially when you're a good barber.
Mm-hmm.
A good barber will always be busy. Now, end of the day, yo, stop. I'm tired.
Muscle relaxers, painkillers.
What do I do?
Yeah.
I need that quick fix. Instant gratification.
Yeah.
My body hurts. I'm tired. What do I need to fix me? Oh, take this pill. Oh yeah, what is it? Nah, it's just a little pill. It starts with a little pill.
100%.
So now you already know. If I have a busy day, I'll take that pill. That pill is a reward for me
Yeah. Well, that's
because I was so busy.
That's the mindset of an addict. If you're talking about a reward system,
Right, exactly.
that means that person was already an addict or with addictive behaviors in their mind.
There you go. There you go.
I do believe that in America, especially in New York, as immigrants, we came here with a certain type of expectation.
Yeah.
And once people started genuinely seeing the fruits of their labor, we came here with nothing, and now we have all this stuff, and we have everything, and we're building houses and throwing all these extravagant parties and glamorizing the party life.
Of course.
Do you not think that this is a big part of the problem, a precursor of it? Like
There
our
are so
values?
many-
Yeah.
There are so many triggers.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You could have up to 100 different triggers. It could be in house. It could be outside. It could be in school. It could be your friends. It could be your coworkers. It could be, you had a bad breakup. Whatever you went through, whatever triggers you, whoever. It's just that person next to you, who you turn to and say, "Hey, can you get this for me?" And everyone knows a guy. There's always a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. That's how it is. It's very easy right now. And now you go into these stores that pop up on every block, the smoke shops. Talk to the guy behind the counter. Any guy. Talk to him for a week or two. He'll get it for you. It's just that widely acceptable.
Yeah.
It's very easily acceptable.
That's really why I'm focusing more on prevention now, if I'm being honest. There's so many targets, there's so many factors that it can come off of. And speaking to people that are already in the trenches or in trouble, you're not going to beg anyone to save their own life. They
Of
have
course
to
not.
want it themselves. They
It-
have to want it themselves.
You can't get rid of it.
You can't.
It's pure economics.
Yeah.
It's pure economics. It's available, it's cheap, and it's easily distributable. Why not make money? Why not make money? It's easy. Hey, I got something from somebody. I'm gonna give it to you, and I know you're gonna come back to me because it's that type of product that brings you back.
Well, we literally have a big problem in the community right now with somebody with that mindset.
Oh,
I'm going to make money, even if it's killing my own.
that person, it's like Hydra. You take one, you take a head of a Hydra, is gonna grow two. There are so many.
I know.
There are so many dealers. There will always be dealers. As long as there's money to make, there will be dealers. And now in the city, we have these centers popping up.
Where they can inject drugs safely.
Safe, exactly.
If I'm being honest with you, I was very against these centers in the beginning of this problem.
But if you think about it,
If you think about
use
it,
your logic, maybe
this is a positive thing right now
Thank
because you don't want dirty needles all around the city, first of all. Second of all, you don't want them to OD. At the end of the day, you want them to be alive.
It sounds so stupid and preposterous.
It's not that it sounds stupid. It never sounded stupid to me. I just genuinely had hope, I guess, that, look, we're not there yet. It doesn't have to come to this. We don't have to have these kinds of centers. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that we are absolutely there. We've been there, actually.
Right.
We're just not going to ignore it anymore. I'm not going to ignore it anymore. See.
So who owns those centers?
Well, that's
those who sell panic.
Those
sell
who
the cure.
Panic, yeah. The thing about our people is that even though there's a shame and a stigma behind it and all this, I am no longer going to be talking to the leaders of our people to do something, for people to act.
Of course not.
I'm tired. If I'm being honest, people have seen my face about this topic. I should not be doing it alone. My message to everyone here is really be a parent, be involved, talk to your children, get involved in Narcan. I will be holding a live sometime this week, maybe next week, with the Dr. Irina Ilyaev. She is a holistic pharmacist. She's going to just do a really quick Narcan training. I want people to, at this point, if you know a user, if someone's in your family is using and you can't get them to stop, whatever it is, take it upon yourself to learn how to use Narcan.
Yeah.
Get
absolutely.
Narcan. The Department
Narcan
of Health
should
gives
be
it.
in every house.
Narcan should be in every house.
Absolutely.
We've had overdoses at parties as well. This breaks my heart. These people could have been saved. So, and a little educational tool on people who don't know what Narcan is. Today I had someone literally DM me and say, oh my God, that's great. So Narcan saves people? And I said, no. She thought it's literally like a cure.
Yeah.
Because I put a thing about like Narcan. She's like, oh, finally, there's a cure. That is how uneducated some people are on the topic. And I'm not making fun of her. Why would she know about that? If she's led a life that's completely out of drugs and doesn't know what this is, like, growing up, I'll educate my mom about this right now, and she's like, "Oh my God, why do you know about this?" It like freaks her out, and I'm like, "Mom, like I've seen so many things. Like you have no idea what I've seen. And we were good kids, but like we used to joke about it amongst ourselves. Like our parents have no idea what public school is like. Like if they knew, they would die sending us here every day. There was people selling weed on the corner every single day. There were, girls with their stomachs exposed with belly rings. That was like the worst of what we went through. You know what I mean? But our parents did not know because they did not see. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
I feel like today one of the biggest problems is parents just are very like, it's so uncomfortable. They don't even want to address it. They're just like,
thank you.
But I understand it's uncomfortable.
It's not even that.
It's not supposed to be.
They don't know how to address it.
They don't know how to address it either.
As a parent, how do you approach your kid? What are you going to tell them? Hey, son, come here. We need to talk. You have a teenager. When you're going to tell a teenager, hey, we need to talk, the first thing you're going to hear is...
They immediately have a guard up,
oh, my God, Papa, what do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They already put that block in front of you. So whatever you say, nothing is going to get in. How do you approach it? The funny thing is, it's not even funny. Not even funny. I spoke today to one of my best friend's mother. She is an anesthesiologist. And she recently retired, and we literally spoke a few hours ago. And so she's like, I did a survey on what type of people are more likely to get hooked on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, people are kids that are coming from a well-to-do family, from a both-parent family. Not just a lot of people have this.
Family,
a lot of people have that stigma. Oh, you know what? You're a drug addict because you come from a broken family.
You had trauma, or your parents were divorced, and that's not even the case anymore. It's been proven that it just doesn't discriminate across the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So most of people that you need money to have it first, right? So people that come from a normal family, a well-to-do family, actually, and a lot of families are over well-to-do. They come from wealthy families. They come from, those billion-dollar houses, stuff like that. They all have siblings. They all come
Yeah.
from good They come from good
Hardworking families that came here with
Exactly.
the American dream in mind, that did really well
Absolutely.
for themselves, regardless of what they did to get it,
Look,
and they want to give their kids everything.
like as a parent,
and
also,
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
give my kids everything that I
yeah,
didn't have,
yeah, absolutely.
and thank God I don't do it.
It's
Nope,
important not to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a 14-year-old who's getting a job right now
Good.
because
I worked
I'm
since I was
not.
11, and I'm not
So did I.
condoning that people should just
Yeah.
child abuse or just working through
No,
the bone. You have to learn the value of a dollar. You have to be able to see outside the world a
absolutely.
little bit, learn your own skills, and there's no other way except personal experience, really.
100%.
I worked because I wanted to. My parents
Right.
didn't make us, but all the skills that I have in my life now, especially my communication, my people skills, my understanding of different cultures, all came from across the customer service, food service, waitressing, all
There
the
you
jobs
go.
that I've had.
Same here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You
It
want it, you
become
get it.
you become more well-rounded, and you learn
Absolutely.
about the value of work ethic. Work ethic is really non-existent
And now
right
your
now.
kids looking at you,
Yeah.
and they want to be like their mom or their father,
Yeah.
right? Unfortunately, in our culture, being a workaholic is a complete normal thing. Like, my mom only has two side hustles. Oh, that's it. Only two side hustles. A full-time job and only two side hustles. А что случилось?
Well, everyone is competing.
We we are hyper competitive.
Hyper competitive, yeah. Everyone's competing. Look,
Super
we
competitive.
came here, everybody was helping each other.
Yeah,
I
and we
remember
still are.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on this, because even though there are some people that are genuinely trying to help other people go up, I will tell you something that I learned early in my life that I feel like a lot of people should know. Everybody around you wants you to do well. Everybody around you wants to do well.
Right. Just not better than them.
Just not better than them.
Oh, yes.
They will
Absolutely.
never want
Of
you better
course.
than them.
Of
So
course
hence
not.
there is no and that is very difficult to find. People around you that are just want good for you, or they want
Yeah.
your team to win. There's friends in the same group that are secretly praying that the other friend couple
Well,
fails
yeah,
or whatever. That's very
course.
toxic. That's very
It's-
toxic behavior.
That's what brings people together.
No.
I tell you what, in common discomfort, a friendship is born. You know what that means?
I don't agree.
That means misery loves company.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing.
So, no, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I
but it is what
run
it is.
away from people like that. I don't allow myself to even be next to those people anymore. Their energy
Right.
is draining, and all they want to do is really steal your light. They project their own failures
Of
onto you. I
course.
mean, I'm speaking of my own personal experience. I don't
Same
and I
here.
and I see it in other. Misery absolutely loves company. I don't want to be in front of miserable people or next to them.
But that's what makes us Baharian. This is what makes us
That's a horrible
together.
thing to strive for. No, that's not the way Judaism works. That's not how
Well,
Jews
I'm not talking
are.
about Jews. I'm not
Well,
talking
we're
about
Baharian Jews, so
I'm
there's a little
talking
bit of
about-
a problem there, sir.
I understand you, but it's our culture. It's not Jewish
That's
culture.
not a good
it's
thing.
Baharian culture.
Baharian culture is very toxic. I'm sorry to say.
Well,
It became very toxic. A
it's
lot
just
of it is toxic.
A little acidic. Just a little bit of
It's not a little
acidity.
acidic. It's very toxic. We need a thorough cleansing. We need a colonoscopy.
Oh, okay. And how are you gonna do that?
I don't know. Purge everyone. I don't really know. There's a big problem in our community. Everything that me and you just discussed is a reason. There's a reason for
Yeah.
this. It's because
Yeah.
of those lack of values.
Absolutely.
We came here frothing at the mouth with nothing, right? You
Yeah.
help this guy. I know a guy is going to get you a job as a jeweler. Okay, I know a guy. What's your trade? You're a blacksmith? Я тоже кого-то знаю. He's going to hook you up. We went from helping each other with domino pieces. We all got where we are today
Yeah.
because somebody helped someone in our past. My father, may he rest in peace. How many people he helped or whatever. People all have helped each other. This is across the board. Our whole community was built upon us coming here together,
Yeah.
migrating here together,
Absolutely.
escaping oppression, escaping persecution,
Yeah.
escaping the people that were the real enemy, people that actually hate us or hated us, right? We
Yeah.
helped each other build over here. You trying to tell me that same value exists right now? That's not what's happening right now.
Of course not. We
Everybody's
passed it.
competing. The younger generation is competing. They
We passed
cannot
it.
even afford to buy or build a house, and they are ripping themselves in half
Yeah.
to buy it and build it anyway, with their parents ushering them to do so. I know
Absolutely.
guys that are married with maybe one kid, maybe if that, or no kid at all yet, and their parents are already on their case. dom kupi, or buy a house. For what? What are you pushing your kid into debt for? And why does it always have to be so extravagant?
Потому что так надо.
So you agree with the fact that what we're doing with the weddings, these $100,000
Потому
weddings,
что так надо.
you agree with it?
Okay, I'll tell you this. I'll be honest with you.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm not going to be one of those what do you call keyboard warriors that
I can take you, Michael. Go ahead.
I know you can't. Hypothesize and say yes, we should do small weddings, and we shouldn't be so extravagant, and we should. All right. So now when push comes to shove, now it's wedding time. Boom. My son comes to me and says, "You know what, Dad? I want to get married." I love this girl. I know, yeah, she's a good girl. All right, so let's start. Let's do this whole process.
Okay.
What am I going to do? What do you think I'm going to tell him? Hey, you know what? How about we have a little small wedding in the hall of, in the basement?
Let me tell you something. That's
of,
bullshit. Listen to me. Hold on. I'm going to tell you right now.
Uh-huh.
What are you going to do? I'll tell you what you're going to do. First of all, that's because the norm became, I'm not trying to shoot shots right now at any establishments, but the norm became where we go, right? The
That's
constant.
right. Yeah, it's the same three places.
So, it's the same three places.
Yeah.
Who told you that that's the only choice?
Но так надо.
Кто тебе так сказал?
Но мне так
Так не надо, это так мы просто привыкли.
Но если...
Let me tell you something. I went to a wedding recently in Staten Island. Shout out to Alice and Arthur. Okay,
Oh,
I
that
loved
was a
you guys.
beautiful wedding.
Okay.
It was a beautiful
Do you
wedding.
understand
Yes,
that
I
that
do
wedding was
understand.
just very, very tasteful, very
Absolutely.
small, very intimate? I understand that
Right.
бабушку и дедушку и хамсоев всех надо
Right.
позвать. I understand that.
Конечно.
I understand that. You can absolutely do tasteful without doing the $10,000 flowers. And I know I'm not alone in this, and I'm not trying to be like a pick-me, but when I was
Right.
planning my wedding, my husband was actually into all this. I was the one that was like, can we please not? Can we please not? This is so extra. I don't want any of this.
There you go.
It's a personal choice, right? Personal preference.
Right.
I don't feel like the standard should be set this high, and every wedding is trying to outdo the one before. Do you remember any wedding to be like, oh my God, this was amazing or life-changing that your parents and someone's parents paid for 125 grand for?
Not on top of my head.
I'm not a fan of setting
Okay.
this precedent. Like for my children that are young, why do you get to have a party like that? For what reason?
It's a cultural thing.
It's not. It's status. It's look how
All right,
much I
okay.
have and look what I can do.
So this status...
I'm going to have an ice duck.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the guy that, charges $100,000 from Israel for one song.
Duh.
I'm not knocking at anybody, and I'm not hating either. If
No,
you got it like that, go
You
for
got it.
I'm talking about our community thinking that should be the set standard. That is not normal. Whether it's happening every day or not. You have a 1-year-old birthday party, you need
Yeah.
karnai surnai and all this nonsense. The child is not going to remember it. Who's that party
Absolutely.
really for? Who's
Look.
that party really for? We have bar mitzvah boys on thrones coming into a gorgeous hall like Elagio, but that's became the norm now.
Yeah, I
Now we
know.
have the Brits. The Brits now are in Elagio and in all these beautiful places.
And I'll be honest with you, я тоже так хотел. I also wanted that.
It's nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm never going to
Because
agree with it.
why do people, get to do that and I can't? I have
Why
only
do you
one
think
son.
that is
Я
important?
хотел- I wanted to ball out. I only have one son.
Okay, you
I
balled
thought I
out
was
for
gonna-
3 hours, and then what?
I'm gonna have like 1,000 people on
Okay,
my
you
bar
balled out for
mitzvah.
3 hours, and then what? Does that really make you happy? Does
You know
that
what?
really make you
I
happy?
tell you what didn't make me happy.
What makes you
My
happy?
sons. I never had bar mitzvah.
So,
Did
did you survive?
So I'm here,
Did
right?
you survive without the
Here I am.
smorgasbord and
There we are.
the flamethrowers and somebody
Can you
juggling?
imagine? I still can't sleep at night.
That's bullshit.
I see
No.
this. I see these kids having all these bar mitzvahs. You have rappers coming to them, and you have a $100,000 chain on them, and еле ходят. Я тоже так
You're
хотел.
glorifying the party life, though. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Because I'm being honest.
Do you know why so many people are getting divorced? Because
Why?
they don't want to get married. They want the party. And after the party
Yes.
ends, what
Yes.
happens? Life kicks them straight into the throat.
Absolutely.
And they're like, oh my God, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't want this or I didn't want that. It's not about the money being wasted. Your values are mixed up. You don't want to
Right.
live with that person and hold them down when they fall apart.
Right.
You want the party. You want all your friends to be jealous of you. You want all of them to come to your
Right.
party and you want to say, secretly, my wedding was, oh my God,
Well,
better than all
do
of
you know where it
bitches.
comes from?
Where does it come from?
It comes from when you were a little girl. Тебе папа читал сказки?
I never wanted a big wedding. I'm not a good example for
But
this.
hold on a second.
But
But
okay.
have you ever тебе читали сказки?
Okay.
Right. You read the whole book,
Mm-hmm.
and then the main story: princess gets married, right? Например, там про Золушку. Тебе сказка.
Okay.
Золушка там стала принцессой, и она вышла замуж за принца. Вот и сказки конец. That's it. No one's talking about что стало с Золушкой after the party, right? When you read those books, you don't hear about Zolushka becoming whatever or whoever. That's it. Сказки конец. So it's already as a little girl, it's already in your head.
But life doesn't work that way.
Right.
Сказка is not конец when the party ends
But
and
as a
Elijah
little
closes its
girl,
doors.
this is what you know.
Which
It's
is why
already
it's toxic.
right. So нам надо начинать. We have to start from our little girls, from сказки конец. You know what I'm saying? And the сказка should start from Золушка вчера вышла замуж. Сегодня ей надо стирать вещи. Завтра ей надо делать посуду, пылесосить. Третье, десятое, all that stuff. She can't work from home anymore. She has to
I
go
just
back
feel
to
like
office.
life is not a social media reel. It is not the highlights from a wedding. It's something
Yeah.
that just gets so, yeah, but like me and you could sit there and say, yeah, it's not. And that's obviously fairly obvious, isn't it? Not for younger people. I feel like we're glamorizing it for them.
Of course.
My purpose of saying this is because it's like we all are guilty of doing it. I had a stupidly large wedding. That's just the way it was. This is what my family wanted. This is what his family wanted. We had to do it. There's a certain precedent that was set, right?
Right.
But I'm speaking of we have really, really dire problems in the community. Like if we're really gonna sit here and talk about all these issues, right? How are we still like glassing over all those issues and still carrying on like nothing is wrong and still focusing on the wrong values? That's my
Well,
question.
Here's the thing. So going back to why kids coming from wealthy families are becoming drug addicts. Why is that?
Потому что они от жира бесятся.
So how do you
There's no
right?
better
That's
word
the
to say
basis.
it.
So, but how? Here's the thing. When we
Boredom.
were teens, right? We started working. Why? Because we needed to procure.
Yeah.
We wanted to procure to make money to buy the things that we wanted without asking our parents for permission. Because most of the time it would be zачем?
Yeah.
Why do you need this?
100%. That's why I
Like
got
your
my own
father,
job.
your mom
Yeah.
will not say no. Your mom's gonna say, "А зачем?"
Yeah. No, my
And
mom
make
used
you
to
feel guilty. Of
my mom
getting
used to
it.
like try to buy clothes for me, but she
Right.
went to the Uzbekka, and I was like, Mom, like in 7th grade, that's not gonna fly.
Right, there you go.
So I was like, I'm gonna work and I'm gonna make my own money.
Thank you. Same
If I
here.
have my own, you're
You
not
see
gonna.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't
Okay, I
even about
understand.
that. It's not. It wasn't about your parents giving you money or not. This was you just
wanted
didn't
your
want
own.
It's not even that. You didn't want their approval
Yeah, maybe too.
because they were gonna make you feel guilty for
Well, because we
getting
were
it.
assimilating, and they're still very much stuck
Right,
in their own
exactly.
ways.
They would say, "Why do you need it? No, зачем тебе?" And so now you want it, but you feel guilty of getting. So you don't want that feeling anymore. So in order for you to avoid that feeling, you say, "You know what? I'll get it myself without asking, without feeling guilty." So procuring things we wanted usually took 90% of our time. Now our kids don't have that. They don't need to procure. Что тебе надо? Like most of our kids have cell phones, smartphones. You need to buy something, click on this button from Amazon or whatever you need. Here, you already have it. Every family has this. Что тебе надо купить? Купи это. Okay, whatever. Oh, you need.
That's crazy.
So before, if you go back, a pair of Jordans was like a prize.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh my God, you're wearing Jordans. Now it's.
I think that translated across the board to all the brands that you're seeing today. Like for
Yeah.
us, it was such a big deal to have a brand name, design, or anything.
Of course.
Today, we're just kind of swimming in it.
Now it's just
It
whatever.
lost
It's
its,
nothing.
yeah. That's why
it
there's-
lost its luster.
That's why it's bigger, always better. The restaurants,
Yeah.
the brand,
and
the
now
dress.
we have social media, especially Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just that it throws into your face constantly. This guy went live. That guy went live. This girl is.
It's not
wearing
just
this.
that; it's all the relationships too. We're only seeing a small highlight or a couple of pictures from a vacation that a
Yeah.
couple will go on. People will immediately, feel less good about their life. It's a natural human
Of
reaction.
course.
So if you have a husband that you happen to have a fight with that day, and all you're doing is scrolling, and all you see is how unbelievably, unrealistically happy everybody is, right?
Yeah.
Where there's kisses and filters and all this stuff that's like genuinely a picture, a fairy
There
tale.
you go.
We're a bunch of sad people looking at happy pictures. That's really this
Absolutely.
entire generation. So that causes even more angst, even more drama, even more depression, even more anxiety on the
Exactly.
other end of that
So
screen.
what do you want to do? So what you want to do is you want to change. You want to alter your reality.
Yeah, how do you do that? You have to alter your
There you
children's
go.
reality somehow.
You take that little pill, and it will alter your reality. It will put put you in a state where you are not bothered. That's what it is. That's what opium is. It really does. It kills off your.
Not just opium. A lot of stuff does that.
But right. But with opium, what it does is that you don't feel anything. You're becoming numb.
So it actually, like the biological, physiological process that's happening is it turns off your pain receptors.
There you go.
And creates this beautiful euphoria release.
Тебе ничто не мешает.
Yeah.
Nothing is bothering you.
Yeah. So any pain that you can have in the body, just for our audience to understand how these opioids are so powerful. What they do is you take them, they dissolve in your bloodstream, they send a tiny little message to your brain's receptors. Anywhere that your brain is getting a signal, let's say you broke your leg or your leg is hurting, that leg is sending a signal like, ow, ow, this hurts, like don't use it, and you're exhibiting pain. The pain receptors get turned off, and you immediately feel dopamine, a release of dopamine.
There you are.
And unfortunately, why it's highly addictive, it's probably one of the best feelings in the world. And you are going to chase that high.
Of course.
Forever after that. And it's never as good as that first high.
It doesn't bother you. Do you understand? The whole world
nothing.
doesn't bother
Everything
you
is
anymore.
nice and
You're
quiet.
zen. You feel like you're the most perfect person in
tempting.
the world.
Yeah.
The problem is when the high wears off.
The high wears off, you crash.
When you go through this crash, the sounds, the pain, your body, everything around you starts to irritate you. Really, really irritate you.
Yep.
And you say, well, it's not fair for me to be irritable. I want to go back to that. To that feeling.
And it's a very dangerous thought
But
process.
I'm not going to go back because I'm not a drug addict. I'm not going to do it. It's going to be my reward to feel good. But I have to do something, right? So that to do something becomes something that comes with instant gratification, like give a haircut. With girls, it's a little different. With girls, it's a little... Девочкам немножко легче заработать, как говорится, unfortunately. And it's much harder for a girl to stop using than for a guy.
Why is that?
It's a physiological thing. It really does change you.
Yeah, it does. It changes the brain's chemistry,
exactly.
actually.
Chemistry changes.
It takes a year for a person to get their brain rewired after opium. Like, there is genuinely a bright tunnel on the other side, especially for opium users. If you do take the time to get clean from it, it takes one long, painful year. When I say one long, painful year, I mean the acute symptoms will last 5 to 7 days, right? That's the worst of it. That's the sleepless nights, the aches, the sweating, the vomiting, all of that. When that passes,
could actually die from it.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You cannot die from an opioid withdrawal. You can die from a benzodiazepine withdrawal, and an alcohol withdrawal is very deadly. Alcohol withdrawal is what will kill you. You will start shaking. I mean, alcohol withdrawal is actually dangerous. Like, you should do that in a hospital setting. Opioids, believe it or not, even heroin, even if it's powerful amounts of fentanyl and heroin, if it didn't kill you, the withdrawal will not kill you. It will be very uncomfortable. I've seen it many times, but it's actually not deadly. It's only dangerous if you get very dehydrated and you're just not, like, replenishing at all, because you're going to be excreting fluids and you're going to be sweating and all that. But no, it's actually not dangerous enough to kill you. Cocaine is dangerous. Withdrawal, you can have seizures.
Yeah. But that's if you use cocaine for a while. Not even cocaine, crack.
Yeah.
That thing is really powerful.
Meth is powerful. Yeah,
oh
I mean,
my God,
some of these,
really
like, you
bad.
can't even go back from, but it's always worth trying. I've met a lot of people in recovery across the board from all of these things, and they do very well. It's just a matter of staying clean.
You know how they do it in Russia? How they have rehabs in Russia?
They make you do cold turkey, I imagine.
They chain you to a bed for
course.
30 days. Literally chain you
If I'm
to
being
a
honest
bed.
with you, I think that that's the best way. The guy that I did an
Yeah.
anonymous interview on, and you could see it on Kaika Media's YouTube. We had someone that came
Right.
that spoke anonymously,
Yeah,
and he's been clean for 10 years now. And the reason he says, like, one of the main reasons he's clean is because he figured out that, like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I'm really, really tired of all
So
of
he
this.
made a choice.
He made a choice. His daughter was born.
Right, a conscious,
A conscious choice. He knew it was going to be hard. He opened up to his family. Didn't want to do the rehab route, which is okay. Not everyone wants to, or at least they don't want to right away in the beginning. I do recommend it. He locked himself in a room for a month.
He's one in a million.
He-
He's literally one of a million.
1 in a million, because
Yeah.
it takes so much mental strength to do that. And you actually
Absolutely.
really have to have a will. And he told me, and he disclosed to me, that it's so painful to get clean. He wanted to be honest about that. It is painful. He's not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. Nobody should sugarcoat it. But the rewards
Yeah.
are so amazing. Like, to never feel dope sick again is probably one of his favorite things. And he was taking like psychedelics, Molly, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It changed him permanently.
Of
That's
course.
not like opioids. Opioids, it'll take your brain a year to rewire back to its normal state, meaning you can
Absolutely.
find small pleasure in things again. You can sleep normally again. Your sleep receptors takes 1 year to rewire. People will go without sleep for a year. And some people can't handle it. They'll stay off the drug, but they'll be on Suboxone and
Methadone.
to get away from the
Right.
cravings, right? But that's really still an opioid drug. You still have it
It's
in your
just
system.
Less potency.
It's less potent, but it's still building
lowers
up. I do believe that
thing.
you should feel all the pain of getting clean, but I'm not judging anyone that's on like the Suboxone route or the methadone route. I just feel like that's Big Pharma's way of controlling it.
You know what I
mean?
think?
What?
I think an opiate like a gateway drug for this is how our kids start. This is when everybody starts with alcohol.
Absolutely, but look how it's glorified. Let's look how it's
Oh,
glamorized.
absolutely.
I've never seen our adults enforce any kind of 21 and over when it
Right.
comes to drinking. So growing up, I remember we would kind of like flex about it to our American friends. Like
Yeah.
we had sweet 16s, right? If we had Americans that came or we talked about it with them, they were like, your parents are cool with you guys drinking like
Yeah.
some kind of
Yeah,
alcohol if they're
absolutely.
around. And I was like, yeah, what do you mean? They're here. We're Russian. We'd flex it like, oh, we're Russian. This is totally normal. We're Jewish. We drink every Shabbat. I drink Shabbat on
Yeah.
Fridays. Really, really bad idea, honestly. Now that I'm an adult, I can genuinely say you are not doing your kids a favor by teaching them
Absolutely.
how to drink. And I've heard even as a dumb argument to say that a parent will be like, он пускай лучше со мной пьет,
Exactly.
чем на улице. You idiot. To the people that say that, okay, you're idiots because
You're
когда вас
teaching him.
нету, он тоже как
Он тоже
собака
пьет.
пьет. И потом что? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Exactly.
I know people that smoke weed with their children. I know
Wow.
people that smoke weed with their
Wow.
children openly. And they say, like, oh, пускай он лучше со мной делает. He's going to do it anyway. Okay, but I'm sorry to tell you, sir, that's not the way to do this or to handle that problem. And teaching them to drink at a young age, you're not doing them a favor. Holding your liquor, teaching them to hold their
Build
liquor.
tolerance.
Build tolerance.
No
It's
cheese.
not the way. You're just building their tolerance to stronger stuff because guess what? It's available. It's
Yeah.
out there. It does not take much to get anything.
So you know how kids learn. They'll learn from you talking to them.
They learn by watching you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I quit smoking 10 years ago.
Good for you.
I quit drinking 2 years ago.
Good for you.
Nothing. No wine, no beer, nothing. There's no alcohol.
Good.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure your kids will look at you and see that as an example.
Yeah. It sucks. My life is dull. It sucks. But you know,
Listen, it's a sacrifice to make sometimes for better things.
I feel better without it. I quit smoking 10 years ago.
Good for you.
I still have cravings. It's been 10 years.
Well, listen,
The cravings
it's-
are still there. That's how potent
Yeah.
that thing is.
it's also psychological too. It's the
Exactly.
oral fixation. It's
That's how
the
it gets you.
romantic
Right.
connection to it. Some people have a very romantic
It's-
connection to substances and to drugs. They really
Absolutely.
do. I know people that genuinely enjoy the process, for example, of rolling something. They'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't smoked in so many years, but I really like this part of it. And I
To
think
hold
that
something.
to hold something, you know what I mean? And a lot of smokers I know, they have a very
Yeah.
big problem. They started doing vaping.
Of
To the
course.
people that are doing vaping,
That's
I
how
mean,
I think. I need something.
you
to
need
inhale.
something,
This
and
is
you're
how
just
I think.
you're making these companies like really rich because you're inhaling a bunch of electronic, substances and chemicals. I mean, everyone has their poison. If there's something that I learned, everyone
Absolutely.
has some kind of addiction, and social media is a big one.
Of course.
I mean, we're already here talking about addictions. I think people are skipping over how obsessed they can become with their phone, with the scrolling aspect, with social
absolutely.
media. I go pick up my kids right from daycare, and I really try to make a conscious decision to leave my phone in the car
Yeah.
because it makes me really sad to see all these little kids running up to their parents, and the parents, we're just naturally waiting for our kids. We're going to be on our phone.
What's this app? I have an app that I pay $100 a year to, that it automatically shuts off my social media after an hour.
So you pay $100 for
Yeah.
someone to control your.
Right. The phone will
habits.
shut off.
Do you actually enforce that?
Yeah,
But you have a page.
I do. So I need, and actually it's pretty good because I tune out.
You get too much into it. Yeah.
Right.
I leave my phone in another room, like if
And
I'm
then go
doing
back.
something.
The thing with me, it's a little different. It started off as an entertainment portal, but now it's Mike, call Mike. He'll help you. Because when you was talking,
Yeah.
it's this, it's that. It became a complete different
It takes up a lot
entity.
of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but it's still an addiction,
Yeah.
and I know it,
Absolutely.
and I know it,
I know
and
that the validation
oh,
sometimes
hundred
it's
percent.
you're getting little boosts of dopamine every time you get like someone saying that your video is amazing, whatever. And I made very conscious decisions
Yeah,
to not pay attention to any comments. So
absolutely.
I've made a decision to not pay attention to any of the
There you
haters,
go.
right? Any of the negative stuff. But it's also just as hard to not feel happy or to feel anything when you see a positive comment. And it's
Of
very
course,
important because you have to keep yourself on the ground.
right.
And it's also because you just can't put so much of yourself onto the validity of others. You can't do
Right,
it.
it's
It's
about
gonna
you
just take
shouldn't.
over. It's just
It
gonna
all
take over your
depends on your
life. Yeah.
character. It all depends on your character. And so I tell you this. Well, 12 years ago, I started to work on my willpower. So every so often, I have these 30-day challenges.
What do they consist of?
So one time, I did 30 days of eating strictly kosher. That was so hard. Well, you have no idea. It
Yeah,
was
I've
so
done that
hard.
before.
I like no, like strictly
Strictly
kosher,
kosher, yeah.
like nothing but.
Mm-hmm.
And where I used to work, there was nothing kosher next to me. It sucked. I did 30 days eating apples. Seriously.
That's good. That's good discipline, like mental
And right, so
discipline.
you discipline your will. I did 30 days of 100 push-ups a day. Then I did 30 days of no cursing. I did 30
I would
days.
never survive that.
Yeah, it took me 6 months. I did it.
What do you mean it
And
took you 6 months? You kept failing? You start all over?
dude,
Good for you.
yeah, I would start
You
over
wouldn't give
and over.
I would give up probably.
My latest one was 30 days of putting on tefillin.
Very nice.
Actually, I had 104 people do it with me within 30 days.
That's amazing.
That was cool. Yeah, that was cool. There's another 30 days that I want to start doing. So it's these little challenges that I give myself just to train my willpower.
Little challenges for little Michael.
Well, it's not so little. I mean, the challenges. And the challenges. The challenges. And so with these little challenges, when I do them, I don't tell my kids to do them. They see me do it.
That's
when
very
you
powerful.
and
Good
when
for
you
you.
keep doing it, they will do it with you.
Mm.
Because listen, all our kids, they growing up, they're already competitive. It's our nature to compete. So you don't want to tell them with what to do. You just
It
want to
should
show
be
'em.
healthy though. It should be a healthy competition. But yeah, you're right.
Right, it's a healthy competition. I do something and I keep doing it and I keep doing it, and then my son or my daughter says, "All right, I want to do what Dad does." Oh, you know what Dad does? Without telling me what he's doing. My father, my late father, used to smoke 2 packs a day
Me too.
until the day he passed. I used to smoke 2 packs a day also. I used to have a bookstore. That's what you do when you have a bookstore. When you read books, you smoke. It's a mentality. It's a Russian mentality. And he would smoke right into my face and say, "Misha, Nikuri, it's not good for you. It's gonna kill you." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Just give me that
Yeah.
cigarette then."
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Isn't
saying?
that crazy?
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
My dad used to do that to us. And I like my brothers would just say, okay,
and
because that's dad's authority and he would say so. But
Right.
me, I've always been rebellious and I've
There you
always
go.
needed an explanation for something. I'm like, but how are you going to do that and
Thank
smoke right
you.
in my face? And he was like, he would even like turn to my mom like, she's going to be a problem, this one. Like, your daughter's going to be a problem. And he was like,
There
you're
you
right,
go.
because I'm addicted and I can't stop.
Right.
And I don't want you to become addicted. So that's why I'm explaining this to you and that's why I'm telling you not to do it. But I'm going to be a liar if I sit here and say that I understood that lesson. You know what I said to myself? I didn't say it out loud. I said, "You're full of shit.
There you go.
You're full of shit." Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. My dad didn't quit until it was too late. It was already too late. He already had the cancer. He quit by force, and then it was like massive resentment and regret. Like, wow,
Yeah.
I wish I would have never done this because he had finally met a grandchild and he really wanted to be around to meet the
Yeah.
rest, but he could not be with us anymore.
Well, with my father, it was a little different. He was like, "Listen, I'm already dying. Get me another pack."
Yeah, I've had patients like that.
And the worst part was he was making my brother buy him cigarettes. And to this day, my brother is killing himself over this.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, Mike, I knew these things were killing him, and he was making me get him for him.
Yeah, he made your brother the enabler.
Exactly. And now my brother has to live with it for the rest of his life. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this vicious cycle, this vicious cycle.
Well, it's like mental torture for him.
It is a mental torture
He has
if
that
you think
resentment.
about it.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, right now, if he's doing something or talking, whatever, it's not there. But you know,
In the back of his head, it's always there, basically.
yeah, a bored mind is a devil's playground.
Well, nobody ever prepares you to be a parent, and I feel like we can't be so hard on our parents either. Sometimes I think of how amazing my parents were, in the sense of like they always did everything with us simply because they didn't go on vacation. Like we didn't even go on vacations. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have the luxury to afford that. But I remember growing up, there was always food on the table. Mom and dad were always there to talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just feel like life gets so busy for us that we don't spend that time. Like today, and I'm not judging anyone, but today, how do people spend time with their kids? They take them somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Давай надо детей куда-то забрать.
В парк, чтобы они игрались, а я сидел на телефоне.
Either that or like, let's go spend a bunch of money on them. Let's go to a restaurant, this
absolutely.
and that. All we're doing is spending money on them.
Exactly.
We used to have this thing like Sunday Fun Day. We cut that real quick because it was like, wait, where are we going today?
Yeah.
It was expected, number one. Number two, it's like, wait, that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this isn't to just spend a bunch of like money on you and for you to feel entitled and like you're not even grateful about it. You know what I mean? Like,
this is so funny you say. When I spoke to Yuhan and Yuhan was coming out with their lives, he put a lot of emphasis on Baharian mothers. He says that this is where it's one of the biggest triggers are our Baharian mothers.
I believe he says this because of the fact that the mom is with the child the most, right?
Yeah.
Dad's usually at work.
Absolutely.
Providing for the majority of the family. That's the dynamic we've always had, even though some families obviously
different now.
Yeah, I mean, women also work, but the main dynamic still speaks. The father is the main provider. That's just how it's been. That's how it always has been. Многом от мамы зависит. He's 100% right.
Right.
If I'm going to bash my husband all day long and my children are then not respecting my husband, whose fault is that?
Thank you.
It's going to be the mom's fault because if you're not going to have a united front, and there is going to be times where I lose myself, for example, and I'm like in the middle of kind of saying like, well, I asked you to do it this way. He will quickly, just with his eyes, let me know, like, don't put me down like that next to the kids, for example, because over here I'm the head of authority. Of course, but I'm also married already for 11 years. I understood this with like, with time, with patience, with every child that's been born. See, you have to understand, you have to live off of your mistakes. So we can have prideful moments and I'll be wrong in something, but the more important thing is that I learned from it, right? So I understand that because I also grew up that way. I never seen my parents ever put each other down. It's never a competition.
Same here.
Like, ты ища как своя мама. Нет, ты такая как... That's horrible. That's toxic. And I know a lot of families that grow up like that and they raise children like that.
Absolutely.
Those children become exactly like that.
Of course.
With their own marriages, their own friendships, their own brothers and sisters. And it's disgusting. I keep those kinds of people at arm's length, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't blame you. You grew up like that. That's just kind of how you're going to be morphed to be. I know people, for example, like the mom, all she does is say how amazing she is. Like, у нее такая просто привычка, она сама себя, например, хвалит. She's just this kind of person. All her children are like this as well. And from the side, looking at them, it's hysterical. It's a glupa. Like, you're just sitting there blowing smoke up each other's asses. It's horrific. I, for example, didn't grow up that way. For me to see that kind of behavior is very strange, right? That's why sometimes even though we're all Baharian, we marry each other, you're still going to see some strange habits that only that family specifically does.
Absolutely.
So I don't even remember what was the point of this. Like, what were we talking about?
The mother.
The mother.
Is the trigger.
So the mother is absolutely the trigger. Like, my husband taught me that, if I'm being honest. I grew up very much of, like, my father, he was the main, go-to in terms of who to speak to. My mother and me, we would bash heads a little bit, right? She was more of an emotional parent. Her feelings would get hurt. For example, if she would tell me something and I didn't listen to her, or like if she would tell me how to wear something, her feelings would get hurt and that would turn into a mother-daughter tryst, correct?
Right.
My father was always the voice of reason. He'd kind of be like, listen, stop arguing with her. She's just going to rebel and start doing it on purpose to piss us off. We don't want that. You have to try to start understanding her more. So because I grew up in a household where the dynamic was a little different, like, yes, mom was important, but our dad was the head. He was the main head, and I went to him a lot for advice, emotional as well. that was just our dynamic. That's just how it was in my house. Our dad was always this. He was the head of the voice of reason for all of us,
There you go.
for his own brother, for his own sister, and for us as children. However, I do see the importance of where the mom falls into play here.
Yeah.
If the mom is not going to defend dad or be behind him saying, your father's right, listen to your father, and he doesn't have that authority,
Yeah.
why would the kids respect him if
Absolutely.
mom doesn't give him that authority?
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around. Why would the parents, and I'm so glad you said that, because I see so many guys that will put down their wife.
Of course.
It's just a natural thing. It's like I said, it's toxic, right? Either
That's how you establish dominance. This is when you say, hey, I'm above you.
Yeah.
You're nothing.
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
Well,
This is my ego. Your ego cannot be the same size as mine.
there's a nicer way to do that, though. There's a diplomatic, I should say, way
Well,
to do that
yeah.
as from a married perspective. But Sveta, postav čaj za kraj rot. That doesn't work anymore. That's not going to happen. You have
No.
to give respect
Right.
to gain respect. And I always say that.
Hold on. What did you say? You have to.
You have to give respect to gain respect. Уважение нельзя требовать, его надо заслуживать. You have to earn respect.
Thank you.
You can't just demand people respect you.
Thank you.
All right? So when I walk in here, I
Very
want you to
important.
look up into my eyes.
Like I
And to
did
greet
when you
me.
walked in.
Yes.
I had to. Я должен стать на цыпочках. I had to stand up on my tippy toes
I
just
could
to
barely see you
just
down
to
there.
give you my
honestly.
hand.
It was horrible. Guys, I walked into the room like, Mike, and he
You
was
know
under
what
the
I'm saying?
table.
You hit my
Hi.
face with your knee, and it wasn't just. It wasn't nice. I hate you.
That's my vice president laugh.
Yes, Miss
Famous
Harris.
for that. Yeah. Mike, this
So-
is fun. I don't even want to go home.
Well, hey, listen, we're live right now.
Oh, this is
We'll
live?
take
We're
a-
not
yeah,
recording?
we're live.
Awesome.
This is live. People are watching us right now.
That's awesome.
You should see how much they're judging you. Oh my God.
I don't give a shit.
Well, I do. Anyway, but to cut the conversation, this thing will never end. It will never end.
I know it won't.
And I tell you why. This is a pattern, and I'll show you how this pattern works. I created necrology section for Baharians
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, and in 5 years, I could tell you how many kids or how many people passed away from this type of problem. There are pictures, there are burial videos, people giving condolences. So this is how it works. There's a bad batch on the street. A few brothers and sisters will pass. 2, 3. A few years ago was bad. We had
I
8,
remember. Yeah. I
8
knew
of
a
them.
lot of them.
8 people passed away within literally 3 months. It
Yes.
was, it was something. It's like something out of a horror movie. But this is what will happen. In a few days, we will forget.
It's not so much that we forget. I think we just become preoccupied with everything else.
Absolutely.
We've become very desensitized to
Right
big
now,
events
this
like
is a reaction. This
Yeah.
is a very strong reaction, and this is so funny. You're gonna see if you look at necrology, you're gonna see the same people saying the same thing. Oh my God, what's going on? Why can't we stop
This
this?
has
We
to
need
stop.
help.
I know.
This has to stop. Right?
I know.
Exactly. It's a reaction.
I know.
It's a reaction. It's a pure reaction. That's exactly what we're gonna do. Yuhan actually started doing this years ago,
Yeah.
and I hope we could, with his help, because at least he's doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. I
All-
always said, some people have argued with me, and I'll say this since we are live. They've said like, oh, you can't work with him, this and that, and we don't even work together anymore because he's more focused on getting a facility on the ground. I kind of switched over to prevention at this point because
Right.
I just felt like it's just too much out of my hands, and this can't take over my entire life, right? But I tell people, well, he's doing something. And
Yeah,
if people are telling me, do
absolutely.
this, do that, I'm like, why don't you do something? Do it. Get up, help, do it. This is not going to be a one-person thing. When we were growing up, I can honestly say it took a village. When I was walking down the street, somebody one time asked me the time. He happened to be an African-American. He
Yeah.
asked me for the time. I stood there. I was like, oh, it's 3:30. Are you sure it's 3:30? My thing says 3:45. No, yeah, it's 3:30. That 2-minute conversation, by the time I got home, we were in a relationship, me and this guy. Oh my God, Tvoya dochka was outside with a black guy. I don't even know what to make of it. That's how
Yeah.
fast it traveled because people were trying to, even though it is like a shit talking moment,
Yep.
they're watching out for you. They called my
No,
mom with
absolutely.
the purest of intentions of like, listen, we're worried about her. She's in 6th grade. Why is she standing on the street with this male? It takes a village, correct?
Yeah.
I just feel like the world that we are in today, we no longer have that little village. Like it's everyone's kind of out for themselves, and not in the worst way. It's because life became very difficult, very expensive. Everyone's trying to kind of focus on themselves, on their own path, on their own home that they want to build, on their own life that they want to build with their spouse or whatever. We're not as close knit anymore because like I started this podcast. We came here, we were all helping each other kind of climb up. We were on
Yeah.
our knees, climb up on our feet. You said it yourself. We kind of have everything now. Amazon, this.
Yeah.
Now it's to the point of like, okay, well, you're doing well, I'm doing well. My daughter's getting married. Please come. Okay, thank you. My son is having a bar mitzvah in 2 months. You please also return that envelope at some point. Make sure it's the same
Yeah.
exact amount, if not more.
Of course.
And you come back to our event. And this is back and forth, back and forth. And
It's
this is
that
how
black book that we
it's
keep
the
passing
black book
off.
is, yeah. And we keep on switching it around, right?
Yeah. We're coming back
And it's
to it.
great that we have a lot of events to celebrate. Like I don't want people to understand it the wrong way. I'm happy that we are such a strong community in that sense. But when you look at the dark corner, unfortunately, you are right. It's not going to stop. It's
course
not going to
not.
stop. I just came to the terms of like, yeah, I'm going to focus on my family and my children, but my children are going to be friends with your children. And I
Yeah.
think all of our children's or all of our children
Right.
need to learn about this at least before they touch it. Because, like you said, at this point, it's so bad and it keeps on happening. And I can't wait for another batch and cross
A
my
bad
fingers and
batch.
hope that it's not going to affect someone again in the community. And these are lineages of families that are gone,
Yeah.
decimated.
Absolutely.
If this continues, the Jewish people will be no more. At least Baharians will be no more.
Well, I think Baharians will always be Baharians, that there will always be Baharians. The thing is, I think we need to be better prepared for whatever can happen to you. What I wanted to say is, number one, have Narcan at home.
Yeah.
Number
There's also
two,
fentanyl testing strips.
right, that too. But you need Narcan. If
Mhm.
something happens in the house, you need Narcan, and you have to be trained to use it. That's number one. Number two, don't call 911. Call Hatsala. Hatsala will come 10
100%.
times faster than 911.
Time is of the essence here. If anyone doesn't understand, when there is an opioid that is in your system, it is depressing all the muscles. The diaphragm is a muscle. If it slows down that muscle is no longer expanding, allowing you to breathe in air. That
Exactly.
person is physically not able to breathe. Their muscles are too relaxed because there's too much of the substance in their body. So they will look like they are getting paler and paler by the second. Some of them look already, unfortunately dead. They're becoming gray. There's no oxygen coming into their body. If there is a Narcan at home, administer it immediately. If there is no Narcan, CPR ASAP until someone comes.
There we
Hatzola
go.
is the best bet. Remember, 4 minutes or more without oxygen to the brain, you already start getting brain
Brain
dead,
dead.
and it is irreversible. I've seen a lot of miracles with Narcan. It's not.
Yeah.
It's obviously not. What we're saying is this is going to fix the problem. I'm sure people are not going to listen to the whole podcast. They're going to take things at face value. We're not sitting here and saying get Narcan in your house and pushing for more drugs to be on the street. Not at all. This is a way to be prepared. Don't think that you are not one of those families that it can't happen to. It's absolutely vital, and it's very time sensitive. Michael continues. So you have Narcan in the house, and you want to call Hatzola. Number 3.
Number three, keep an eye out for your kids' friends. Always
You should know them,
Know
meet
them.
them, know
That's
them
it.
by name.
know them, and always watch what you say in front of your kids. That's it. This is your prepare. This is what you have. This is what you start with. You can't stay safe from life. It's out there. It's gonna get you. You have to be prepared. You know what we say: hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah. And if you are recreationally using drugs, there's a lot of people that could be watching that, think that this won't affect them or whatever. Please be mindful. The fentanyl problem is really, really bad. It's a really big deal. Just don't get things on the street. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Just don't get anything for the time being, at least. You're playing Russian roulette with your life.
Absolutely.
And if that is the case and there is no workaround around it and there is going to be a party, no judgment, look into fentanyl strips. You can at least put the drug of whatever it is that you're using in some water, test that water, and see if your thing is laced. At least this way you're not about to die. Because, like I said in the beginning, only a professional grade drug addict, a chronic heroin, heroin, they don't say criminal, like, what is the term? I'm forgetting the term. But basically, someone that's, consistently doing this, like they are a career criminal in that sense. That
Okay.
drugs are their thing. They're the only subject of people that can probably even handle the hit of what is fentanyl. Anyone else, you drop dead just from touching it. I want that to be understandable to people of what fentanyl is. One of the drug overdoses that has happened in our community was very tragic, and it sticks out to me, is because the guy or the child that went to a dealer after a month or two of being clean, I want to say, they found in his hands a thing of Narcan that he did not have time to yet use on himself.
Right.
So it shows you how powerful the drug was, where he immediately panicked. He immediately felt something was wrong. Whatever it is that he did, he shot up or he took a pill, I don't know. I'm assuming that he did something that would have a quick reaction if he felt that way. And the Narcan was in his hand, but they found him already overdosed, like dead. He did not have the strength or whatever it was to actually push it and use it.
News spill.
I cannot talk about that enough. There was even a video that I showed my son. It was a cop that came into contact with fentanyl at like a drug house, immediately fell, collapsed, and his partner was so panicked, trying to get the cops over there, trying to get the paramedics over there. They put 2 Narcans in his nose, and he did CPR the entire time until the cops came. But I'm talking about instantly fell flat. They're supposed to always use gloves on these crime scenes. All he did was touch the hood of a car. It was
That's
a
it.
white powder. Boom, done. Skin absolutely absorbs powders, and your nose, you'll inhale the powders. I mean, anything. You touch it and you die. That is how
That's it.
dangerous this issue is.
Absolutely. Do you know where fentanyl is from?
It's synthetic. It's from China.
No, but what?
China.
Right, but what was? How did it come about? Like, who created it and for what purpose?
Well, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to make.
All right.
Go ahead. Tell the story, Michael.
The
Just
story.
say
Here.
I have a story
I
to
have
tell
a
about
story.
fentanyl, and I want to tell it.
You know what? I drank Snapple 3 years ago. I don't drink it anymore.
Me neither.
And on the back of the cap, it says fentanyl came from 1950s. It was created to put down inmates, to put them to sleep. That's what fentanyl.
Wow.
That's how it was created, and that was the purpose. Purpose was for you to peacefully fall asleep
Yeah.
and not wake up.
Well, isn't that like euthanasia?
That's what it is.
Peacefully go.
That's what it
Yeah.
was made for. You die within 6 seconds.
Yeah.
It takes 6 seconds for you to never wake up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. You're done. That's what it was created for. I have no idea how it escaped prison system and went into everybody else. Maybe one of the prisoners didn't die and say, "Dude, this was the best sleep ever." Right? Well, I hope that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But, before we go, let's just go over this one more time. Narcan, learn CPR, have a Hatzalah number at hand, and always, always watch your kids, who they speaking with and who they hanging out with. Esti, I want to thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope this is not going to be our last time.
I'm sure it won't be.
Many more, appearances to come.
Okay.
And we'll see each other later, and you guys also.
Thank you for having me, and thank you so much, Michael, on talking with me on this topic. I've wanted to come for a really long time, so I appreciate it.
Perfect. We'll see each other again. All right, guys.
Have a good night.